Hi everyone. So today we will talk about the fundamental movements. So there are three parts of fundamental movements. We have the locomotor, non-locomotor, and the manipulative. And also we will talk about and discuss the landing and falling movement skills and Rodolph Lavan's four framework movement. So let us start first discuss and know the three kinds of fundamental movements. So let's get started.
Fundamental movements. Why is fundamental movements important to a child's physical development? It is important that in an early age, the child should master these movement concepts during early childhood development and elementary school physical education. Studies show that students are more likely to stay active when fundamental body movements are mastered at that age. Fundamental body movements are the building blocks necessary for physical activities like sports and dance. So, fundamental movement skills are important to the motor development of children's physical, cognitive, and social growth. So, it is very important for a child in his or her young age to discover and develop the fundamental movements because when fundamental body movements are not mastered at a young age, there is a tendency that students are unable to participate in certain physical activities as they grow older. So this lesson explains the components of three fundamental body movements. So let's start in locomotor movement. Are defined as movements that travel through space or carry weight from one location to another. Locomotor movements primarily use the feet for support, however, the body can travel on other parts such as the hands and feet. So, locomotor from the word itself, locus, which means place, and motor, which means movement. So, basically, this movement allow our body to move from one place to another. There are eight main locomotor movements. We have the walking, shifting one's weight from one foot to the other. Running, that is transfer of weight from one foot to other and is faster speed than walking. Hopping, that is springing on one foot and landing on the same foot. The leaping is performed by pushing off from one foot and landing on the other foot, and it can be combined with a run or a walk. Next, we have the jumping. It requires the body to jump, push off from one or both feet. So as you can see, the picture illustrates most common jump is a 2-foot takeoff and 2-foot landing. Next, we have the skipping. It is a combination of a step and a hop on the same foot, followed by a step and a hop on the other foot. The galloping, a forward movement where one foot leads the gallop while the other foot allows. The lead foot steps with a bent knee and pushes off into the air, and landing on the trailing foot. And lastly, the sliding. It is similar to a gallop performed with the right or left foot leading. So therefore, I conclude that these movements involves our feet and other parts of our body to move from one place to another. Then next, we have the non-locomotor movement. Movements that occur in the body parts or the whole body and do not cause the body to travel another space. These movements also referred as axial movements. So non-locomotor is a movement that a person performs while remaining stationary. So the person remains in one spot while the upper body rotates from left to right. Bending the body from a straight position to a curved position is a non-locomotor movement. Also, this movement referred as axial movement. So when we say axial movement, it refers to an element of dance which dancers stay anchored to one place by a single body part while using available space in any direction. An example of this are bending, that moving the muscles around a joint where two body parts are met. Then next we have the stretching that is done by extending any part of the body from the joints. The twisting, a partial rotation of body parts around an axis. And the rotating, move or cause to move in a circle around an axis or center. And I also provide here an example of axial movements. So we have the pivot turn, the shoulder roll, the tilt, and the ronde jump. So I believe Ryan is familiar with these movements that I have mentioned since he has the experience to dance with these movements. So, di ba, in locomotor, it allows our body to move from one place to another. But here in non-locomotor, it is a movement that are done in one point in space without transferring to another point. They don't allow you to move from one place to another. But mm, the non-locomotor can be combined to locomotor movements such as walk and arm swing. Next, we have the manipulative movement. Are all about making certain movements to apply force in order to move objects. Manipulative particularly are those in which precision in accordance with speed and control. So there are certain things that are quite useful when it comes to developing our manipulative skills. These are, first we have throwing, which engaged arms and hands and the shoulders. With practice, we will learn to make use of our shoulder to exert more force. The catching. It is instrumental in developing hand and eye coordination. Our eyes are focused on the ball throughout to catch. Then, the kicking. It involves lower body movements and begins by making use of the leg to move stationary ball. The striking. It is used to strike an object so as to propel it into the air. So, manipulative skills are particularly are those in which precision in accordance with speed and control, and acquires movement skills through a process of learning by doing. These skills mainly involve physical activities with the use of hand and body coordination to execute a task. Training our body to perform physical movements is necessary, and these activities must begin at a young age. The next we have the landing and falling movement skill. So the ideal jump landing allows an athlete to safely and efficiently absorb shock through the joints. It includes hips, knees, and ankles during the landing. It also puts the body in the right position to rebound safely and powerfully. This movement comes fairly easily once trained. The goal is to land softly and transfer the impact forces, first to the larger gluteus muscles and then the hamstrings, quads, and calf muscles during the landing. So basically, it is very important for us to know the proper position of landing to avoid accidents. So if you're not familiar what gluts is, well, gluts or your gluteal muscles refer to the muscles in your butt. It is located in the buttocks and is regarded as one of the strongest muscles in the human body. It is connected to the tailbone as well as other surrounding bones. The gluteus maximus muscle is responsible for movement of the hip and thigh. So our glutes is the strongest muscle because it is where we get our strength by doing heavy or extreme exercise or playing sports. So here are some example sports. We have soccer, basketball, volleyball, and handball. and there are so many kinds of sports that requires a lot of running or jumping or use any form of rebounding during training. And one of the best things you can do to prevent an injury is to learn proper landing mechanics. So, proper landing mechanics. First, you have begin with a thorough warm up. Initiate small 1 to 2 inch jumps. Land as softly and quietly as possible and sink deeply into the landing. Land with your whole foot and keep your foot evenly distributed from heel to toes. Avoid landing only on the balls of your feet. Ensure your knees are tracking over your foot and not caving in or falling outward. Shift your weight back over your heels. Your heels should remain behind your toes during the movement. Then, over several weeks and with your trainer's guidance, increase the height of your jumps to a 12 to inch back. Then, why are landing mechanics important? Landing mechanics are extremely important for power production during sports. If an athlete does not land and decelerate themselves with their weight distributed over their entire foot and the glutes firing, they will be in a poor position to initiate explosive jumping or sprinting movements. Athletes must learn to not only initiate the first jumping movement in an advantageous position, but also land in the correct position to initiate the next movement. So, um, because it is important to follow the landing mechanics, because if you have a poor landing technique, it can also lead you uh, in a tremendous pressure on the anterior cruciate ligament or ACL in particular. Well, an ACL tear can occur when the athlete plants the foot and twists the knee. Athletes who have weak abductors are more prone to poor landing mechanics. This is even more likely to occur in female athletes who are more prone to a valgus knee position. So we should always remember that following these mechanics can't harm us. It will help us to avoid accidents and to have a strong body muscles. Although there are some athletes for whom perfect landing form comes naturally. So most athletes would probably benefit from some training aimed at improving landing. Then next we have the four framework aspect of movement. Rodolph Laban was a lifelong visionary student of movement. He discovered and explained four aspects of movement and developed themes of work, from simple to complex, that enable students to focus on one or more of these four aspects at any time. These movement frameworks, four aspects, help learners see the totality of human movement. They can be used consistently and effectively in the content areas like games, gymnastics, and dance. These four aspects of movement serve as organizing threads that are woven through the program areas, allowing the physical educator to revisit key movement skills over the elementary years. This revisiting of all four movement skills or concepts helps learners build and organize their movement skills and understanding. This also helps teachers avoid instructional gaps. So, what are the four aspects of movement? First, we have the body, which focuses on what the body is doing. Students become skillful in locomotor, non-locomotor, and manipulative skills. So, in body, it focuses what the body is doing. Just like the sa locomotor movements, which are those that incorporate traveling from one point to another. In non-locomotor naman, movements without travel. And in manipulative skills are motor skills involving an object. So the three categories of fundamental movements are being applied na. So next we have space. In the aspect, whose focus is on where the body is moving. The learner develops skill in the use of personal and general space and competency in moving varied directions on different pathways through varied levels, planes, and extensions. So, in space, the learner develops their skills in the use of areas, general and personal space, the ability to move in diverse directions, like forward, backward, sideward, and up-down. Then next, we have the effort. The effort aspect has a focus on how the body is moving. Here, the learner develops the ability to use time, fast or low, the weight, the strong or light, the flow, free or bound, and the space, straight or flexible, to improve the quality of movement or the flavor of movement. Then sa effort, or what Laban sometimes described as dynamics, is a system for understanding the more subtle characteristics about the way a movement is done with respect to inner intention. So these actions that are expressed when we are motivated to act. Then next we have the relationship. Finally, relationships has a focus on with whom or with what the body is relating as it moves. This aspect helps students develop awareness and skill in how body parts relate to one another when moving and how the mover relates to individuals, groups, apparatus, objects, and other factors such as rhythm, music, boundaries, and rules. So, in relation, the examples of relationship aspects, skill in games include the being in appropriate positions to receive passes, or guarding and adjusting position when defending an opponent or backing up a defending teammate appropriately.
Okay, so hi guys. So kanina medyo epic akong intro kay nailamok, but anyway, to sum up everything about my report, I realized that it's very important for us to know the fundamental skills, and it is considered to be a necessity because they are much applicable to our daily life. And fundamental movement skills are very important to a child's physical development. When confident and competent in these skills, children can develop sport-specific and complex movement skills, and these skills allow the students to enjoy sports and physical activities. And we, as future educators, we must not limit our students' ability to express their ideas, knowledge, and skills because these serve as the sole purpose of teaching physical education, and that is to promote physical wellness and motivation to our students. And also, the best way to motivate students to be open in these skills is to continually engage them to certain activities that will enhance not only their learning and abilities but also their overview about physical education in general. So that's all, and thank you for listening.